I don't think the message A.J. Brown is sending after a 4-0 start is a problem at all. The problem is how he's communicating that message. I'll tell you why coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Tuesday edition of the show. I'm your host, Louis DiBiase. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the entire app. All right, let's do it. Let's talk A.J. Brown. This was the thing I was going to monitor all season long. I told you multiple episodes throughout the offseason that one negative thing that could happen this year was that A.J. Brown could eventually be unhappy with his role after 2 years in a row having a sporadic role in this offense. It was the main thing I was curious about heading into this season. If the Eagles maintain their run-first approach of 2024, if they were inconsistent in the passing game, if his targets were inconsistent even in wins, which the Eagles have had 4 of 4 to start the 2025 season, would that be enough for A.J. Brown? Well, here we go. Already a cryptic post on social media 4 games into the season by A.J. Brown talking about if you're not wanted, simply be silent, shrug your shoulders, and move on. He used a Bible verse to pretty much say that he wants the football. I think that's what this is, and I have 2 main thoughts about the A.J. Brown drama that's just been completely engulfing Eagles media and this fan base, completely engulfing the headlines this week, despite the Eagles being on one of the greatest runs in NFL history, winning 20 of their last 21 games. We have to talk about this because A.J. Brown, I think, communicated a very understandable message in the complete wrong way to do this when you're 4-0. So again, I have no issues, even at 4-0, with A.J. Brown being upset. I think he has every right to be upset. A top 3 wide receiver in the NFL to only have 14 catches in 4 games, and outside of the second half against the Rams, the majority of those receptions were short yardage, very minimal impact on the game type of touches. Like, to only get involved in that way for a player of his caliber, even in wins, is very frustrating. Every player in the NFL that's a starter, that's a star, especially at the wide receiver position, they want to be involved. It's not just A.J. Brown, it's every star receiver across the league, including the one across the formation in Devontae Smith. They want to feel like they're part of the success. That is completely human. I think that is totally understandable to not just want to be a decoy week after week when you're 28 going on 29 years old in your prime. This is your time now to produce. Primes in the NFL drop off very quickly, especially at skill positions. It's a totally human emotion to be upset if you're A.J. Brown, even in wins. Players have many goals outside of just winning games, winning championships. Is that the priority for most of them? Yeah, 100%. Is that still a priority to A.J. Brown, winning titles? Of course it is. But players have individual goals as well. I think A.J. Brown wants to make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How do you do that? You put up numbers. These guys have individual goals. They want to feel like their individual success was part of the winning success. Or else, yeah, even though you're happy for your team, it is tough sometimes to feel like you're a part of it if you're not very involved, especially when you know the kind of impact you can make on a game like A.J. Brown can. He proved it in the second half against the Rams. He was the main reason that you erased the biggest comeback, the biggest deficit in a comeback win you've had since 2010. So A.J. Brown sees the offense struggling, knows what he's capable of. Yeah, of course he's frustrated. I think he is 100% in his right to feel that way. And it does not make him a diva. This offense, it's not like he's doing this in the middle of a 10-game win streak of 2024 where the run game is unbelievable. It's on a historic run. Like, that's not the case in 2025. They aren't passing or running the football well. This is not a sustainable offense, and I think he knows that. No team this talented should ever have a first half against the Rams where they had -1 passing yards. This week against Tampa Bay in the second half, they didn't complete a single pass. Like, to have a all-time group of weapons and you're doing that, like, that's inexcusable. That is not the same thing as maybe being unhappy with your role in 2024. They've been outgained in every single game on the offensive side of the football. I mean, they're literally giving up on 3rd and 10 plus. Like, they are trying to run out the clock for multiple quarters on end. Like, the conservative approach is really, really bad. So I think Brown is in his right. I mean, I saw a stat from Bo Wolf today that the 2016 Texans led the NFL in design run percentage from 3rd and 11 plus in a full season at 44%. The 2025 Eagles are currently at 58%. Petulo is not using Brown as a featured player at all or in any creative way. He's really running one of 3 routes every single game. People point to the 9 targets he had against Tampa Bay, but go watch those targets. Very low quality. I feel like Jalen Hurts is struggling to find his identity of like when to be aggressive and when not to be. It does feel like at times he is extremely gun shy. So yeah, my issue is not with the message itself that A.J. Brown is conveying, despite the Eagles being 4-0. The issue is the way he's communicating it at 4-0. To post something cryptic like that on social media, then not answer to it at all, to the media this week, to have, and this is what I complained about last year and the year before when there was A.J. Brown drama, and that's what's annoying is you'd feel like he learned from that in the past. Maybe they don't care, but you'd think he would do it differently this time around since he's created drama 2 years in a row. To do that and then players and coaches have to answer for you all week, that has to be the headline all week when you are 4-0 and have beaten 3 really good teams and a division rival. That's my issue. Like, to take that to the public the way you did through social media and then not really add context to it so everybody can speculate. That's not a media created circus like Brown has alluded to in the past. Like, don't gaslight us into saying that this is us, not you. A.J. Brown started this. And obviously he has clear intention with that post. Like, he wants the football. He wants this offense to change. He's not happy with his role. He's trying to get his message across in hopes that it does change. But I think the way he's portraying this message causes more harm than it does good. I think a lot of players could be upset by this because, again, it's a distraction. Now Jalen Hurts is going to have to answer to this in his next press conference. Nick Sirianni has already had to answer to this in yesterday's press conference and a radio appearance today on WIP. Kevin Petulo was asked about it today. You know Devontae Smith at some point will be asked about it, and AJ now will have to answer to this too. So he's a smart guy, and they've been through this before. There was drama last year and in 2023. Maybe he and they truly don't care. But I think his way of communicating is completely frustrating, and it's caused a lot of drama that as a veteran team captain, you should just know better than to do this. I mean, because everybody is talking about it now. It's everywhere. It's all anybody's talking about, the Eagles in the national media, the local media, fans on every social media platform. This is leading my show on a Tuesday. And again, it's frustrating because, yes, the offense has a long way to go. It's at an extremely low point right now from a passing efficiency perspective. And the run game is not working either, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. But they've won 20 of 21 games, and this does cause a distraction. Like, keep this in-house. I mean, it's not like A.J. Brown's doing sit-ups in the driveway like Terrell Owens, but this is kind of the new version of that. Like, this is the new wave, the new era of players version of doing sit-ups in the driveway to get your message across. Like, I think he's totally in his right to be upset. I just think that this way of doing things normally doesn't help the football team. We'll see what happens. Is there a fix? I'm not sure. Like, obviously, just getting him more involved and getting the offense more consistent and back on track will, I think, heal most things. But I do wonder, and I wondered about it in the offseason. You guys heard me talk about it on this podcast, on the Squad Show. I wonder what will be enough for A.J. Brown, because I truly think it's almost a battle of identities or the desire to be a certain way. I think A.J. Brown has a vision for this team, what they should be on offense, and I think Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts have a vision of what this offense should be. I think he wants this team to be back to who they were in 2022 and the first half of 2023. He wants that identity back, but they're never going to be that team again, in my opinion. If they get back to last year's offense consistently, if they're a great running team and he still has some big games, but it is up and down, peaks and valleys, like, will that be enough for him? If he's not getting the ball 10 plus times and putting up 1,400 yards a year like he did those first 2 seasons in Philadelphia, is that going to be enough for him? Like we heard in the offseason, he talked about how the Super Bowl wasn't what he thought it would be. He wants to dominate his craft. Like that's what gets him up every single day and to play this sport. It sounded a lot like A.J. Brown wants to dominate individually long term. Not that he doesn't want to win, but I do wonder if he's starting to wonder if this offense is a good fit for him long term, because this offense is unique. They're elite in a very different way than you're used to seeing most offenses be great throughout the years. Like they are a run first team with a very unique elite quarterback that's an inconsistent passer, but he's great in other ways. And he can be great as a quarterback throwing the football. We saw that in the first half against Tampa Bay, but Jalen Hurts still at times can be who we saw in the second half against Tampa Bay, the first half against Los Angeles. So I don't know if there's a fix. Like he's not going anywhere. They're going to have to fix it because they're not going to trade him. The dead cap they would have to take on, and they just signed him to a massive second extension. He's not going anywhere. But I do wonder from Brown's perspective if maybe he thinks this isn't a fit for him anymore. We'll see. They could totally turn that around by getting him heavily involved in this offense again, like they did the second half against the Rams. But right now, that was something that I was curious about heading into the year. And what just happened this week kind of confirmed my speculation. So lucky for the offense, the defense is up to carrying the load right now until they figure this thing out with AJ and the entire unit. The defense completely dominated my stock up segment coming up next. So let's get into that right here on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Mizzen & Main. You know the saying, look good, feel good. The problem is that most dress clothes only check one of those boxes. They look sharp but feel stiff, hot, and high maintenance. That's why there's Mizzen & Main. Mizzen & Main makes classic menswear with performance fabrics, so it's effortless to look sharp and feel comfortable. They actually invented the performance fabric dress shirt over 10 years ago, and they've perfected it ever since. Their shirts are stretchy, moisture wicking, wrinkle resistant, and machine washable. No ironing, no dry cleaning. I love that you can go from the office to dinner or even out on the golf course and still feel comfortable all day. It's the feel of athletic wear, but the look of professional menswear. That's my go-to kind of clothing. Right now, Mizzen & Main is offering our listeners 20% off first purchase at mizzenandmain.com with the promo code LOCKEDONNFL20. That's Mizzen, spelled M-I-Z-Z-E-N, mizzenandmain.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL20 for 20% off. And if you'd rather shop in person, you can find Mizzen & Main stores in select states. Guys, today's show is also sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sports betting app. The NFL season's here. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel. You can bet on, player props, parlays, even follow the game live during the game as it goes along. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Eagles fans, we are continuing on this Tuesday edition of Locked On Eagles. Stock definitely down to the passing game and the whole A.J. Brown situation right now. Hopefully they can get this thing back on track like they did last year when there was drama with Brown and Jalen Hurts. They followed that up with one of the best performances I've seen from those two and Devontae Smith in the passing game. They completely threw the doors off of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense with Jalen, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Those two both combined for over 200 receiving yards in that game. Hopefully they use this in a good way. Hopefully this doesn't divide the locker room. I don't think it will. I think players are very supportive of AJ even during this drama. Over the last couple of years, it feels like this locker room kind of understands him, how he works, how he communicates. Like I said, to kind of put a bow on everything from my perspective, I think Brown is in the right to a degree, even at 4-0, to feel the way he does. I think most receivers, most stars in the NFL, most human beings would feel that way in his situation. But the way he is conveying the message, it's kind of ironic that he posted a biblical verse about not causing a scene when in fact that verse was used to cause a scene. It's kind of ironic. I just hate going to social media this way to convey this message, because when you don't add context to it, now it just, everybody's speaking for you. There's all this speculation. There's all this drama. Maybe the drama's not inside the building and that's why they truly don't care. But I think it would bother people inside the building that have to answer for it. The coaches, the players, guys that are helping to win games and scratch and claw to beat really good football teams. To have a receiver doing this, I think it would bother some. Maybe it doesn't. But again, he's a veteran team captain. So to do it this way, I disagree with. And I've defended AJ. I wondered heading into the season if he would be okay with the same role he kind of had last year, if not less, which is what's been the case so far through the first month. It's something to monitor. I think the message I understand, but the way he portrays it, I disagree with. Hopefully this can get resolved in a good way. They're going to have to. They need to throw better to win games. But as of right now, they've still been able to win football games against good teams to start the year 4-0, because this defense is cooking right now on all cylinders, especially on the back end. The secondary and the second and third level of this defense. I went back and watched the tape against Tampa Bay yesterday, and it was spectacular. And I want to stock up with the cornerbacks. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Kelee Ringo. You won that game on Sunday because of really two positions, your cornerbacks and your linebackers, specifically though corners. I mean, Quinyon Mitchell's performance against the Bucs might be, it's up there with, like, I'd say Darius Slay erasing Justin Jefferson in Minnesota on Monday Night Football in 2022. It's one of the best, maybe the best corner performances I've seen from an Eagle. When you think about the situation, to completely lock down Emeka Egbuka, who could be the offensive rookie of the year, Chris Godwin, who's one of the more underrated receivers in football, playing man coverage all game. You don't miss a single snap in over 100-degree heat, and you're shadowing them. Like, Vic Fangio had Quinyon Mitchell pretty much on Egbuka the entire game, and when he wasn't on the rookie, he was on Godwin. To allow just 2 receptions on 9 targets for 6 total yards, like, they went after Quinyon Mitchell. They targeted him 9 times. He had 5 pass deflections, 2 huge deep pass deflections late in a 1-score game. He had 3 forced incompletions in the first half to force punts. Like, he was playing like an absolute maniac. I mean, talking trash to Baker Mayfield, taking Tristan Wirf's helmet. I mean, I was crying tears of joy watching Quinyon put on an all-time performance in a win. Like, I think he was the main reason you won that game, but it wasn't just him. Like, Cooper DeJean was almost as good. He had 3 forced incompletions, nearly a highlight reel interception where he left his assignment, crashed downhill over the middle of the field and jumped a route, almost intercepted the ball. He had some incredible tackling against the run. He was a star playing outside corner and base as a slot corner and nickel and dime. I mean, Coop and Q, they look like they're becoming the next Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent duo, Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown. Like, that's how good these guys are getting, and I think they're already better than the height of those 4 players' powers in the early 2000s. And again, to do that in Tampa Bay and that environment was spectacular. And Kelee Ringo, like, as a third corner behind 2 stars, he proved me right, I think, in my opinion, that he's the third cornerback in this defense. Fangio said today, we'll see. He very well could beat out Adoree Jackson for the spot. I think he already did it. Ringo was targeted just 3 times in that game, 1 reception allowed for 8 yards, had a pass breakup on a 4th down to force a turnover. He blew up a couple run plays and a red zone screen. And sure, were there times he was a liability as a tackler in space? Yeah. But the thing is, compared to who they have on this roster, the alternatives, right now it's just Adoree Jackson because Jacorian Bennett was placed on IR. Ringo will make the mistakes that Adoree Jackson does, but he'll make splash plays that Jackson and when Bennett was healthy, those two just will not make. And that's why, to me, unless you're going to go out there and trade for Reek Woolen or another corner we're not thinking of, or sign a free agent that's still out there, like a veteran, I don't know. I mean, are you going after Stephon Gilmore at this point? Unless that's your alternative plan, Kelee Ringo, to me, moving forward, is your third corner. All three cornerbacks were spectacular on Sunday against the Buccaneers. And again, to see the Eagles winning games because of corners, linebackers, and safeties, like that's just never going to get old for me. This team finally has blue chip players, homegrown stars at these spots. And again, they won that game in Tampa Bay for this team, those positions. Jahad Campbell and Zach Bond as well, stock up. I mean, this looks like a Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman kind of duo so far through the first 4 games of the season. It's the best linebacker duo in the NFL. I think they've been the MVPs of the first month of the season for the Eagles. Campbell right now is the defensive rookie of the year. 3 game-changing second-half turnovers this year already, including 2 against the Bucs. He has the 3rd highest coverage grade at linebacker this year. Working through the mud against the run at an elite level. He's blitzing. He is that do-it-all guy that we dreamed he could be coming out of Alabama. And Zach Bond, I'm in disbelief that he's potentially even better than he was last year as a first-team All-Pro linebacker. Listen to this. Zach Bond against Tampa Bay had 5 pressures on Baker, including a sack. 4 of those pressures were under 2.5 seconds. He allowed just 1 reception for 1 yard in coverage. I don't know if this is just Vic Fangio being the best linebacker coach of all time or what it is, but the Eagles have a special duo at linebacker right now. And again, it's just, I know I've talked about it on the show before, but I had an out-of-body experience there watching Tampa Bay, like to watch linebackers and corners. Positions the Eagles have won with in the past, but not because of. To watch those 2 positions carry you in a game against a top 4 team in the NFC, crying tears of joy. And I want to give another shout out to as well to another defensive player. Stock up to Moro Ijoma. Ijoma was wrecking that ball game for the Eagles on the interior. There were a couple plays he nearly got to Baker Mayfield for more sacks. Like he had 1 sack in a massive spot in the 4th quarter on that game-sealing drive. Just drilled Baker through the A-gap to take them out of even field goal range at that point. You could make the argument, though, with his pressures, he could have had 2 or 3 sacks. He also had a big pass deflection. He has the 2nd most interior pressures through 4 games in the NFL this year with 15, only behind Jeffrey Simmons. He leads the Eagles in sacks with 2. Both were late and in close games against the Chiefs and Bucs. I mean, I don't know if he's Milton Williams of 2024, but efficiency-wise, right now, he looks just as good. Somebody tweeted out the other day that he's the Milton Williams of Timmy Jernigan's, and I can't stop thinking about that. Ijoma is a player we expected to break out this summer. We kept talking about him and Jalix Hunt on the defensive line. While Jalix is still yet to fully break out, the Ijoma breakout is absolutely here. Again, the 2nd most pressures of any defensive tackle this year with 15, and he already has 2 sacks on the year and probably should have more. That defense top to bottom. The pressure on the edge I thought was good too. People were questioning if Zadarius Smith and Uche and Hunt were getting there, but I thought all 3 of those guys consistently got to Baker Mayfield. So the defense from top to bottom, I know they gave up 2 70-plus yard touchdowns in the second half, but I thought they were spectacular for 90% of this game, and they're the reason that they won in Tampa Bay. All right, guys, stock down coming up next. We got to talk about the Eagles' run game. What the heck is going on with the offensive line and Saquon Barkley? Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by Rugiet. So, Rugiet, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. That's exactly where Rugiet Go Long comes in. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in 1 dual-action formula, so you can get hard and go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. And the process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. So ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet.com and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, Rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Make sure to use our code so they know that we sent you. All right, guys, we're wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Locked On Eagles with stock down. After a close nail-biting win against Tampa Bay, it didn't feel like that was going to be the case through the first 2 quarters. The passing game was dominating. Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert had 2 very creative receiving touchdowns in the red zone. The defense looked great, especially, like I said, the linebackers and the corners. And then the offense completely turned back into a pumpkin. The passing game, they didn't complete a single pass in the second half, which, again, that's part of why I'm okay with A.J. Brown being upset right now. It's not just that he's not as involved as he was in 2022 and 2023. It's not like last year where they're winning games because the run game is dominating and the offense does look even solid in the passing game. Like, he's not getting 100 yards plus, but he's getting 50 plus on a touchdown. Like, it's at an extreme low point right now. Like, they have to fix the variances. They've got to be more consistent throwing the ball. But I think even with all the Brown drama right now and the bad passing offense, the bigger issue is the run game. Because the Eagles passing game, yes, again, they're normally going to be inconsistent and they have to be better than they've been, but it's normally going to be inconsistent. Like, we've seen that throughout the majority of Jalen Hurts' career outside of one season in 2022. Like, we've seen peaks and valleys. They'll have some elite moments, but they'll have some downs as well. The run game is supposed to be the consistent part of this offense. They're superpower. Like, that's supposed to be the main go-to feature of this football team. And through 4 games, the Eagles' run game, especially because of the offensive line, it has not been good enough. Saquon, for 2 straight games, has averaged under 3 yards a carry. And if you're not able to run consistently, teams are like, the passing game's already inconsistent. It's going to be even harder to do things throwing the football if you can't run the ball efficiently. So right now, I think that's the thing I'm even worried about more than passing the ball. The offensive line, I think, is the biggest reason for the run struggles. The offensive line is not healthy. Lane Johnson keeps getting hurt. He's in and out of games for 2 weeks now. Landon Dickerson, I don't know if you should shut him down like you did Nolan Smith for a bit, but that injury he suffered in the open practice clearly is limiting his ability to be the elite guard that we've been used to since 2021. He's allowed 3 sacks already this year and 13 pressures. Like, that's very uncharacteristic. Tyler Steen is fine, but he's not who Mekhi Becton was last year. And Cam Jurgens, I don't know if he's fully healthy either coming off that back surgery. So the offensive line is not very healthy. It's obvious. Saquon, like, by the time he gets to the line of scrimmage, he's already getting hit the majority of the time. There's just nowhere to go. And that's the thing they need to get going more than anything. Obviously, the passing game can't have -1 passing yards and a half and then 0 this week and a half when you have elite personnel at receiver and tight end. Like, that's just unheard of for a team this talented. But again, there's been an acceptance with me about who this passing offense is. The running offense has to be your bread and butter, and they have been sometimes more of a liability than the passing game. The passing game is what won you that matchup against the Rams, and without the passing game being as good as it was in the first half against Tampa Bay, you wouldn't have had such a big cushion that allowed you to collapse a little bit against Tampa Bay and still win that football game. So the run game, honestly, the pass game has won you more matchups this year so far than running the football has. They got to get that back on track because that is, like, without that, the Eagles they're not winning a Super Bowl again in 2025. And I think the main issue right now is the offensive line. They've got to get healthy and they've got to figure things out. Jordan Mailata talked on a show yesterday on the radio that maybe getting to the line of scrimmage faster will help them diagnose things from the defense. They're slow to get out of huddles. They're kind of rushing, not able to really break things down pre-snap. Maybe that's part of this, but I think it's also just getting healthy. Like, getting Lane Johnson healthy, getting Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson healthy. That's going to be a huge part of, solving this offense's problem through the first month, heading into the second month of the season. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Still got 3 more shows for you this week. Getting ready for another matchup against a good defense. The Denver Broncos come to town next Sunday, so we'll have a couple shows for you getting ready for that matchup on all platforms, on YouTube and wherever you get our show in audio version. Until then, thanks so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.